Be finished. Okay, Bezras Hashem. Today's daf is daf Ayin Dalid in Kesubos 74, and look how far we've come. And we're starting from about like 6 lines from the top. Itmar. Okay, so what we're discussing over here is, a person gets married. He doesn't want his wife to have a neder, a vow. You don't want a wife that has made a vow that she can't have meat, or that she can't have wine. She's a vegetarian. She's not drinking meat or wine. So if a guy says he was dating with a girl, and he says, "I'll go to get engaged to you and give you kedushin with one condition. The condition is that you have no vow on yourself that prohibits you from drinking meat, or eating meat, or drinking wine. Because I can't live with a woman that can't, eat well or dress nicely." That's what he said. Then, so she said, "Oh, sure, I don't have this vow." Then what happened? As they got to the wedding, he actually, consummated the wedding, got married, and had relations with her. And then but before the wedding, he didn't reiterate that. Make sure that you have any vows that you're not prohibited from eating meat or drinking wine. He didn't repeat the statement. He just went ahead and married her and had relations with her. Then he finds out, like a week into the marriage, that she discovered that she does have a vow. So the marriage is we're going to say over here like this: Amar Rav Acha. Now this is not agreed with everybody. Not everybody agrees with this opinion, but I'm sure you probably would think that this is the right thing to do. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Yochanan. Rav Acha bar Yaakov said in the name of Rav Yochanan, Hamakadish al Tnai, a guy who gives kedushin to a girl and gets engaged to a girl with the condition. What's the condition? We spoke it out. That in condition she has no vows, so she's no problem eating meat or drinking wine, let's say. Then he gets married. Went to the wedding date. He didn't repeat the condition. You get it? He didn't repeat the condition. And then, he had relations with her. Now, we could look at it and say that the reason why he didn't repeat the condition is because he forgot about the condition, and he doesn't care. Even if she can't eat, drink, and eat meat and drink wine, he's still going through with the marriage. So you might think that this would be still a good marriage, because the fact is he didn't repeat the condition at the wedding day. So so Rabbi Yochanan says that's not true. Eina tzricha hemena get. She does not need from him a get. In other words, this marriage never took off in the first place because the condition was violated. And therefore, the engagement never took place. Now, that's what we're gonna learn. But there's another way to look at it and say to yourself, look, he probably thinks to himself that once you say that this kedushin was not a good kedushin, that he's not really married to her, and they can go and leave each other without a get. That means when he did this be'ila, this very important word, when he had relations with this girl, it's a znus relationship. That's basically it. It's a znus relationship. And the fact is that he's thinking to himself that if this condition is violated, he doesn't even think the condition would be violated, but so he inadvertently made his bia a znus bia, basically. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said that the fact that he didn't mention the condition when they got to the wedding day it's still the condition still in effect, and therefore if the condition is violated after the marriage and after they slept with each other, there's no get needed. The marriage is over without even a get. So says the Gemara, Esvei Rav Acha bered Rav Ika bar Achte, Rav Acha, the son of Rav Ika, who is the nephew of Rav Acha bar Yankov. So Rav Acha is the nephew. This Rav Acha bar Ika is the nephew of Rav Acha bar Yankov. He says like this: I have a question. What's the question? We learned in a brisa, chalitza muteis ksheira. We had this once before, Masechta Yevamos. If someone fooled somebody in giving to a chalitza, ksheira. Now, why would they fool a man to give chalitza to a lady? Let's say an old guy has this, 18-year-old girl fall to Yibam. He had a very younger brother, died, and this 18-year-old girl falls to Yibam. Bezdin sees that if, a 60-year-old man marrying an 18-year-old girl is not going to be a good shidduch. He's insisting he wants to do Yibam. So Besdin has to figure out a way to fool the guy to do a chalitza. And if he fooled him and he did a chalitza, it's kashera. That's what the Brisa says. Now we have to define what is a fooled chalitza. Ezi chalitza mutes. How do you fool somebody into giving a chalitza? Amar Resh Lakish says, Kol she'oimer, if you tell the guy, chaloitz lo ubekach atakainsa. You tell the guy like this, spit, take off the shoe, she's going to take off your shoe and spit, and that's consummates the marriage, that will do the yibam. So they fool him into thinking that the chalitza is a yibam, that you're marrying her. And so she does the chalitza, and then they tell him, oh, we fooled you, your chalitza, you cannot marry her. That's what Resh Lakish says. That's how Besdin gets this guy off this girl's back. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said that doesn't work. That's not even good. That's not even a good chalitza, because when she's doing the chalitza, he's thinking he's doing yibam. And Rabbi Yochanan said to Resh Lakish, that's not a fooled chalitza. Ani shayna, I learned bein sheniskavenahu v'lo niskavenahi. If he knows what he's doing, and she has no idea what chalitza is, or bein sheniskavenahi, if she knows what the chalitza is, lo niskavenahu, and he has no idea he's doing chalitza. Chalitzatzoi pesula, the chalitza is invalid, ad sheyiskavenu shneim, until both of them know what they're doing. Ba'at amret chalitza kasher, and you say this is a kosher chalitza, and of course it's not a kosher chalitza. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, what do you do in this scenario where you gotta fool the guy into giving chalitza? How do you get the 60-year-old from stopping him from doing yibam onto this 18-year-old girl? Rabbi Yochanan says, you tell the guy, give her chalitza, and know that you're giving her chalitza, but we're going to give you 200. We're going to give you 200 zuz, okay? Which means we're going to give you $100,000 to a chalitza. So that's what called a chalitza mutas. So we see from here. So then, and you end up giving the 200 zuz. So he did the chalitza, and then that's it. You don't give him the 200 zuz. So too bad. You did the chalitza. So you see from the story of this Yibam story, Alma, you see something profound. Kavan the Avad Maisa, since he did the action of chalitza, and he didn't repeat, where's my money? He did the chalitza first without asking for the money. So the fact that he did the chalitza, achuli achle l'tanai, he forgave the tanai, he forgot about the condition, and it's not subject to the condition anymore. And that's why the chalitza is good, because it's not subject to the condition. So Hachin Nami says the same thing over here. A guy made a condition when he dated this girl and got engaged to the girl, and said on condition that you have no vow that prohibits you from eating meat or drinking wine. And then he never repeated the vow, he never repeated the condition when he got married and slept with her. So why don't we say the same thing? Hachiname cave in the ball, since he had relations with her, achule achle de tanai. He forgave the condition. So the marriage is subject to no condition. And if it's not subject to any condition, the marriage is good. And in order to absolve such a marriage, you should need a get. So how did we start off over here? Rabbi Yochanan said that if you kaddish an isha tonight and you did the biyah without mentioning that you have a condition, you don't repeat it. So you know the condition still exists and you don't need a get. So over here, it implies from the story of Rabbi Yochanan over here, the way he sounded by the Yibam case, is that once you do the action and you don't repeat the condition falls away. Amalei. So this was Rav Acha, I think his name was Rav Acha Bereid Rav Ika, asked his uncle Rav Acha Bereid Rav Yaakov. So his uncle answered him, Amalei Bar Beirav, you yeshiva boy. Shapik Amrit, are you saying correct? You're saying the reason why, by the chalitza case, when they promise a guy, do chalitza, we'll give you 200 zuz. And then he doesn't, then let's say a few days later, he does the chalitza. They didn't repeat the condition, but the chalitza is good. That's you're thinking, because the reason why the chalitza is good and you don't have to give him the 200 zuz because he forgave. He said, I'll do the chalitza without the money. No, That's not the reason why it's a good chalitza. Because michte, let us see. What basically he's going to say is that you can't even make a condition on such an act. So the condition itself never even existed at all. Why can't you make a condition? Chalitza is something I cannot make a condition. Why? Michte, kol tanai mehecha gamrinam. Where do you see the fact that a person could make a deal with somebody with a condition? Where do we see in the Chumash about conditions? So you see it, mitnai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain, from the condition that Moshe Rabbeinu worked out with the b'nei Gad and the b'nei Ruvain. The Chumash tells us that b'nei Gad and b'nei Ruvain told Moshe Rabbeinu that we don't want a part of Eretz Yisrael cross the Jordan. We're happy over here. You got us a good piece of land over here, and it works well for us. So Moshe Rabbeinu told them, I'll give you this land on condition you help your brothers capture Israel proper. You cross the Jordan, and you come and you be part of that army that's going to capture Israel, and you stay there till Israel is divided with the other 10 tribes. And then you could come back and keep your piece of land on the other side of the Jordan. And Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain agreed with that. So from here you learn, from that story in the Torah, that episode in the Torah, you learn all all the halachos, all the rules of condition. So we learn a very special thing. T'nai de'efshel l'kayuma ayidei shaliach ki hasam, a condition which can be fulfilled through a messenger. Really, who's the messenger of Moshe Rabbeinu that's going to fulfill the condition of giving Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain their land? That's Yeshua, because Moshe Rabbeinu died. Yeshua was the one that led the Jewish people into Israel. And so Yeshua is the one that's going to give Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain the fulfillment of their condition. If they help out, they get the land across the Jordan. That's Havit tonight. So if a condition can be kept through a shaliach, like over there, then the condition is a good condition. If something can't be kept through a condition, through a messenger, if something cannot be done through a messenger, like chalitza is something that you cannot make a messenger do it. In other words, if a man is required to do it, yibamo chalitza, he can't say to his friend, you do the chalitza on my behalf. It doesn't work. So therefore, it's a act that he has no jurisdiction over. And therefore, loy hava tanai, you can't make a condition with that person, because you can't make a condition with the man and say, oh, we'll give you 200 zuz if you do the chalitza. Since chalitza is an act that the man himself could not send a messenger to do the chalitza on his behalf, so it doesn't fulfill all the framework and the parameters of what situations you can make a t'nai. And since it doesn't fit that, the t'nai never existed, the condition never existed. And therefore, that's why Rabbi Yochanan said, you fool him by saying, do the chalitza on the condition we're going to give you 200 zuz, because there is no condition. The condition doesn't work. Making conditions do not work by chalitza. But on the other hand, but in our scenario, a condition works, because a person could make a condition with a woman and say to herself, I want to get engaged to you. But I'm making a condition that you never have a vow upon yourself about not eating meat and drinking wine. Well, he can get engaged to her. In fact, you don't have to be the one to give the kedushin to the lady. You could actually make a messenger and have her give the ring to the lady, because messengers do work by kedushin. And therefore, conditions do work by kedushin, but do not work by chalitza. Says the Gemara, on every act of engagement, do you say, when a guy gets engaged to a girl, there are 3 ways he can get engaged to a girl. One is through giving her a ring, that's called kesef. One is writing up a document, a shtar, that says on a piece of paper, Hareyat Mukudeshes li, you are betrothed to me. And number 3 is he sleeps with her, right? Even though we don't do that today, we actually first give a ring, and then you have a wedding, and then you have marital relations. But in the Torah, it says that you could actually consummate an engagement with a girl just by having relations with her. If so, having relations with a lady is something that cannot be done through a shliach. And we learned that if a man says to his wife, a man says to a girl, I'm going to sleep with you on condition that your father is okay that we slept together. And if that's okay, then the kedushin would work. A funny thing, a guy is going with a girl and says, okay, we're going to have marital relations. And this marital relations will make me betrothed to you. But it's subject to a condition that when your father finds out, he's okay that that I'll be his future son-in-law. And the Gemara says that's a good condition. If it turns out that the father did not like the guy, it turns out the kedushin is off. It doesn't work. Wait a second. Bia, we just said that something that cannot be done through a messenger, conditions don't work. Bia is something, sleeping with a woman is something you can't send a messenger to do that. You see, unlike a star or a kesef, I could send a guy, my friend, with a ring and say, go be Mekadesh me that woman, or go give the star to that woman this contract, and then I'll be Mekudeshes to her. I could do that, but I can't send somebody to have beer with a woman, and that will be reflected that she's married, she's engaged to me. So therefore, how come over there we say conditions do work? Tanais do work by bia, then having relations. How does that work? It's something that cannot be done through a messenger. Answers the Gemara, we have a rule that there are three ways to be Mekadesh and Isha. Kesef, Shtar, and Bia, right? As we mentioned. Those three ways, since two out of the three ways we see conditions do work, you could attach a condition to the Kedushim of Kesef. You can attach a condition to the Kedushin of Shtar. So also, even though it doesn't fit into the same parameters, but since there's a hekish, we say you could also attach conditions to Bia as well. Okay, so let's just review what we're holding over here. This is the point. If a person got engaged to a girl, it said on condition you have no vows that you can't eat meat or drink wine. Then he got married to her and he didn't repeat the condition and he had slept with her. Then he finds out a week into the marriage that she has a vow and she can't eat meat or drink wine. So then, there is no need for a get because the marriage is over. That's what this Rabbi Yochanan said. So now comes along the Gemara at the end. Amar Rab Ula bar Abba Amar Ula Amar Rab Laza. Rab Laza said, "Hamakadesh b'milva." A person is mekadesh a girl with unconventional ways. Really, these unconventional ways, he gives kedushin to a lady. You're supposed to give something of value to a lady, right? In order to make a kedushin, whether it's a ring or a money or whatever. A guy goes to a woman. This woman owed him money. And he said to her, listen, instead of paying me back, I'm moichel the debt. That's what he said. So that is not called a good kedushin because you're not giving her anything because she already spent the money that you lent her. So that wouldn't be a good kedushin. But then he subsequently slept with her, right? So that's sleeping with her. Does that mean he's sleeping with her now to make a new marriage because he realized that the milva is not a proper kedushin? We'll discuss that. So in Mekadesh b'milva, he did a Mekadesh with a loan, which is not a good kedushin, ubal, and then slept with her. And here's another case, al tnai ubal, which means he made a condition with the lady, I'll get engaged with you, on condition that you don't have a vow that prohibits you from eating meat or drinking wine. And it turns out she had that vow, but he subsequently went to a wedding and ubal and slept with her. Or the third case, the pachas b'shava pruta. He first gave her, let's say, something that's less than a penny's worth of value. So then obviously it's not a good kedushin. But then he went to a wedding with her and ubal and slept with her. So it could be that bia automatically undid what he said before. So that's what this Rabbi Lazar holds. Divrei hakol zicha men a get. Everybody would agree that you need a get because he understood that what he did before was conditional or wasn't a good condition. And therefore, when he actually slept with her, there's a concept, Ein Adam Oise Be'ilase Bilasnus. He doesn't want to sleep, and have an avera of adultery. So he wants to sleep with this lady with a purpose of making her his wife. So therefore, if he wants to absolve this marriage, he needs a get because he slept with her, and sleeping with her is enough to make somebody your wife. That's what Rab Loza said. Omar Rav Yosef Bar Abba, Omar Rab Nachman, Omar Rab Ami. Rab Ami said a little different. He said, yes, I'll agree with you by the case. Hamakadish b'pochos meshava pruta. He gave a kedushin. He gave her, let's say, a feather or nothing, a piece of a leaf on the floor. And he says, "You're a kedushin to me." And then, so that's not a good kedushin, and it's pretty obvious. Everybody knows you have to give the girl something of value. You can't just give her a piece of dirt. So if he did that, uba'al, and then did the be'ila, so then the fact that he did be'ila, certainly he understands that his intention to sleep with her was that it would make a marriage. So then, tzricha ben a get, then you would need a get from this lady. So you would need a get because the bia made the marriage. But baha hu deloitoi, in the case of betrothing a woman less than shava pruta, nobody has the mistake that it would work. So he knows it didn't work. But a person who's mekadosh b'milva, he forgave a loan, so he's thinking that I already did kedushin with her, or he's thinking when he made a condition and said that I'm on condition that you're not prohibited from eating meat or drinking wine. He's thinking that she is going to keep that condition. So when he does a subsequent bia with her, he sleeps with her, he's not sleeping because he's creating a new kedushin. He's sleeping because he's thinking, this is my wife already. So then, of course, that's the reason why he's sleeping with her. So he never made a new kedushin over here. There, in that case, he would not need a get if they want to absolve the marriage because they never really married. And the fact that he did bia, he never created a new marriage. So now the Gemara says one more thing. Rav Kahana said in the name of Ula, first, again, like we started at the page, he got engaged to this girl, and he told her, I have certain conditions, and she violated those conditions. And then Ubal, he got married, went to a wedding, and slept with her. So he, in the back of his mind, and this is why we think this way, he knows that there is a possibility that she didn't keep the condition, that she has a vow that she doesn't eat meat. Perhaps he saw during the wedding that she's not touching her main course. So when he's sleeping with her, he's thinking to himself, well, I don't want to sleep with an adulterous relationship over here. In case the kedushin didn't work, I want to create a new kedushin over here by sleeping with her. I want her to become my wife through this bia. And because he does that, that's what Rav Kahana understands, and the name of Ula understands the psyche of the chassan, of the groom. So therefore, if they want marriage, shricha men a get, they need a get. And then it says, this was a story, actually happened. And a guy got married with a t'nai, didn't mention anything by the wedding about the condition, and then did bia. We said that they need a new get, that he sort of walked away from the condition and was going to marry her and sleep with her unconditionally. And if they wanted to absolve the marriage and the marriage didn't work out, the Chachamim said there's a need. It's impossible to get divorced without a get. You need to have a get in that case. Says the Gemara, La pupe mahaitana. This doesn't jive with the Tana of a Mishnah, of a Brisa. The Amma Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul Mishum Rabbi Yishmael. In the name of the Tana of Rabbi Yishmael, it was said over the He Loy Nispasa. Torah says that a woman becomes usher to her husband. If a woman does an adulterous relationship, she becomes prohibited on her husband if she didn't do it by force, asura. Only if she did it willingly, slept with somebody else. She's a married woman. She becomes usher to her husband. Ha nispasa, but let's say she was raped, or it was by force. She slept with somebody else, then muteris. Then she's permitted to go back to her husband. It's only if she did it willingly, she becomes prohibited to go back to her husband. But if it was unwillingly or by force, then she's mutter to go back to this husband. So says Rabbi Yishmael. But he says, V'yesh l'char cheres is a possible another case. She'afal pi shloi nispasa, even if it was not done by force, actually it was done willingly. She slept with another guy willingly. Mutara, she's permitted to go back to her original husband. How? How's that possible? She slept with another guy willingly. The answer is that the first guy, that the first husband, the actual, what we think is a husband, there was a whole mistake in this marriage. In other words, he made a condition and he slept with her, and they're thinking their marriage. It turns out she violated the condition. And according to Rabbi Yishmael, the fact that he slept with her, he didn't sleep with her to create a new marriage. He's always thinking that he's married to her. So now that we find out the whole marriage was a mistake, there was never a marriage to begin with. And more, furthermore, let's say he didn't find out that she violated the condition till many years later that she had a child with this guy, and there's a child on her shoulder. So that we go to Amid Beis, law, she could just walk away from the first marriage, basically, and go to a second marriage. And if she doesn't, she didn't go, and if the second marriage doesn't work out, she can actually go back to the first guy because he was never really married to her, because it was a kedusha by mistake. So we see Rabbi Yishmael holds that if a person makes a condition and he sleeps with her and they have a good marriage, and then he finds out she violated the condition, Rabbi Yishmael holds that there was never a marriage to begin with, and the whole marriage can be absolved without a get. Unlike all the other people that we mentioned before, there's Amoraim that all disagree with that and hold no, the fact that he put a condition there and then kept sleeping with her, and he went to a wedding day and slept with her, it possibly forgave her on the condition. And he forgave her on the condition, perhaps he's making a new kedushin over here, a new marriage with the sleeping, and therefore the marriage takes effect, and you would need a get in that case. Gemara. We learned in the Mishnah, okay, and this will take us to the end of the page. It's very easy. So we learned in the Mishnah that if you marry a lady and you made a condition with her that she has no prohibitions of eating meat or drinking wine. Then you got married and she had the conditions intact. And we find out that she has the vow intact. So you would think the marriage is over because she violated the condition, right? Because now she still can't eat meat or drink wine. So the Brisa says, this is very Rosh Hashanah stuff. She went to a Chacham and she said Mater Neder, and they undid the vow. So then it turned out that she didn't have a vow to begin with. Mukudeshes, so therefore she's still now married to this guy. Turns out the vow was taken off from her, and therefore she's now permitted to stay with this guy, and they're married. Let's say the condition was that he's marrying her on condition that she has no handicap, and then he finds out that she has a sickness, and so then if he finds out that he made a condition that she has no sickness, and it turns out she does have a sickness, so the kedushin should be over, says the Mishnah. But what happened? She went to a doctor, Eitzel Roife. She went to a doctor, Veripais, and now healed her. Still, Einu Mukudesh, there's no kedushin, because when he married her, she was sick. Now she healed herself, but when he actually consummated the marriage, she was sick. She only became healed later, so the marriage is not a good marriage. So we understand, the Gemara asks, Ma ben chacham l'roifa, what's the difference between a chacham that undoes the vow to a doctor that heals the patient? Because the answer is chacham, when you go to a chacham, the rabbi, and he does heter neder, right? He undoes the vow, Oikir as a nedam ikarai. He uproots the vow from the very beginning. And therefore, from the very beginning, it's almost as if they didn't have any vow. She didn't have any vow because the rabbi said to her, had you known that you're going to have such a thing with meat, or had you known that you're going to get engaged with this person that wants you to eat meat, would you have made that neder? Would you have made that vow? And she says no. So it turns out she never had the vow to begin with. That's the power that the chacham has to when it comes to undoing the vow of a person. They can uproot the vow from its very source. Therefore, she had no vow. Therefore, the kedushin works. The reifa, but a doctor, he's not uprooting the sickness. He's only he's only healing elamikan velahaba, only from now and further. So therefore, the doctor, she got into the marriage sick. Now she becomes healed. Therefore, since the condition of the marriage was that she's not sick, and she came into marriage sick, the marriage is over. Says the Gemara, okay, you told me that if you go to a chacham and was mater, she's mukudeshes. So we can ask a question. V'hatanya, we learned in this brisa, eitzel chacham behitira, if you go to a chacham and he undoes the neder, eitzel roife v'ripa isa, and you go to a doctor and heals her, Eino Mekudeshes, she's not Mekudeshes. There's no Kedushin over here. So how come in this price it says you go to a Chacham and in the Yitir it's Mekudeshes, and this price it says Eino Mekudeshes. So Amar Rava says Loi Kasha, that's not difficult. Ha Rabbi Meir. The first price that says that if she went to a Chacham and undid the neder goes according to Rabbi Meir. Ha Rabbi Elazar. The second price that says Eino Mekudeshes is talking about a woman who went, and it goes according to Rabbi Lazar, and Rabbi Lazar says that it would not be kedushin even if she went to a chacham and was mater neder for her. Why? So how do you explain it? Meya, the first price that says mukudeshes, because even after you get married to a woman, she has these vows in place. The husband doesn't mind if she goes to the rabbi and just spills the beans and says, listen, I want to get out of this neder. Rav Meir says the husband has no problem with that. And Adam Reicha shetisbaze ishtei bebezdin. Rav Meir would want that a man would want his wife to become embarrassed in front of the court to try to undo the vow she has. So he has no problem with that. And if she's successful in convincing the court to release her from the vows, right, then the kedushin is valid because they released her from the vows from the very beginning by saying that you never had a vow in the first place. But the second brisa that says that the woman is not mukudeshes, Rab Lazar. Those are Rab Lazar, the Omar who said, "Ein adam roitzish tisbaz ishtoi bebezdin." A person does not want his wife to become embarrassed by bezdin. And even after he married her and she has these vows in place, Rab Lezer will hold that the husband has a certain hakpade. He's very adamant that even if there's a possibility to undo the vows, he doesn't want his wife to just spill, their marriage secrets in court. And therefore, even if she went ahead and did it, it's still, the marriage is invalid according to Rab Lezer. And that's how you resolve the two brises. Mahi, so the Gemara just describes, we'll just do 3 more lines and we'll stop. Mahi, where is Rab Meir and Rab Lazar having this argument? The argument, again, is that would a person want his wife to go to court to try to undo a vow? Now, why would a man be upset if his wife did that? Because it's not like fighting a parking ticket. You have to explain your whole circumstances to your life circumstances to the court. And they have to find a way, a loophole out of this vow that you made, and therefore it's humiliating a little bit. So Reb Meir says a man has no problem if his wife gets humiliated by going to court, and Reb Lezer says a man does not want his wife to get humiliated by court. It's now we learned in the Mishnah. Hamoitzi es ishtoin mishum neder lo yachzer. A guy divorces his wife because she took a vow. A man says, I can't have my wife take a vow. Lo yachzer, he can never take her back. If he says the reason why I'm giving her a divorce, now normally when you divorce your wife, a person could say, I regret it and I want to marry her again. But if you gave the reason why you're divorcing your wife is because she made a vow and you don't want to live with a woman that has a vow, whatever it is. Let's say she made a vow that she doesn't want to go to a certain restaurant and you like to go to that restaurant. So you can give her a divorce and say, I can't live with a woman that has this vow. So, but you tell the guy that if you're going to try to marry her back, lo yaksa, you cannot marry her back. And we can explain the reason tomorrow. Mishum shemra lo yakser. But same idea. If a woman has a bad name, people are rumoring that she sleeps around, and you say the reason why I am giving you a divorce is because I hear bad rumors about you. Lo yakser. You can never reclaim this wife after you give a get. We'll see the reason tomorrow. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol neder sheyodu by Rabim, lo yachzir. If it's a neder, she made in public. Now, by making this neder in public, basically, and I'm going to explain the reason, Rabbi Yehuda, that if it makes a neder in public, she's like, I make a neder. I don't care if my husband, she goes in front of 10 people and says, I'm never, doing such and such. I'm never doing, picking up the kids from carpool. That's the neder. So then, if that's the reason why he's divorcing her, lo yachzer, he can never take her back. Because Rabbi Yehuda holds that if a woman is so, despicable, like an oisvarf, and makes these kind of public vows, so we tell the guy, you can never take back this woman. We're punishing this woman for making such a crazy vow. Lo yada by Rabbim, she made a neder that not everybody knows about it. Then she's not such a despicable woman. Maybe she had a bad day. She made a private vow. So yachzer, you can take her back. You could, if you divorce her, you can take her back. Comes along. Okay, so this is the Gemara. Let's stop over here, and we'll continue tomorrow with Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Lazar, and then we're going to describe how we see that Rabbi Meir says, according to his opinion here, that a person has no problem if his wife goes to court and gets humiliated. Fine.
6 lines from the bottom.
Yeah.
Thank you.